All right. And I want to encourage you, if you say you need some help, you need someone to talk to, there are licensed counselors, therapists, individuals who are out there. And don't stop until you find one that fits for you. Because I'll tell you this, not every therapist is the right therapist for you. Not every therapist or every counselor is the right counselor for you, but you've got to find a counselor who is right for you. You may have to date around for a while, and I don't mean like actually date your therapist, your counselor. I mean you may have to try a couple of different ones for a little bit until you find the one that fits for you, that works for you. Okay. All right. Now, our theme, our start for this month, I had to shorten it because if I try to post it on the social platforms that we're on, in particular when I tried to put it on Instagram, it said it's too long. When I'm on YouTube, it only allows me so many characters before it says, all right, we're going to cut it off. You know, Facebook, you can make it as long as you want, but Twitch, I think there's I don't know. So there's different ones that have different issues. Twitter, I think, even has the constraints of characters, right? You can only put so many letters in there before it says it's too much. So I had to short, and the title for this month is Light as a Feather, Heavy as a Boulder, as Fragile as Glass. I think that's the perfect place to go after this last month of mental health. And let me just kind of make this make sense for you. The short version, you may hear me just refer to it as feather, boulder, glass, right? Feather, boulder, glass. Today was more of an intro, but let me just tell you what I mean by feather, boulder, glass. Light as a feather, heavy as a boulder, right? And hard as a boulder. You know what I mean? As fragile as glass. And those are things that are oxymoronic. That's oxymoron, if you will, because things that don't quite go together, that don't make sense. How can something be as light as a feather, but as heavy as a boulder, right? Or even as hard as a boulder or a rock? How can something be as solid as a rock, right? Or a light as glass, right? Light as a feather, but fragile as glass. How can that be? I want you to know that is complexity for man. Really, that is the complexity of a man. And I never dealt with the complexity of a man before, but now that we've dealt with the mental health aspect of, I want brothers, I want to encourage you, women who are listening who have a man in your life who you love, whether it be your husband, your son, your brother, your father, your uncle, your nephew. I want you to better understand um, the men in your, because see, every man has that aspect of him that is as fragile as glass. Like if the just the wrong, like my wife knows what my trigger points are, right? She knows what things um, somebody can say and or do, and particularly say. There's not a whole lot that folks can do that will get me to a point of I'm either going to be upset or whatever. But there are some things that folks can say that's a trigger for me. She knows those triggers, right? Um, I don't want to give too damn out here on the air, in the sake of being slightly vulnerable to issues from my childhood and things like that. One of my trigger words is lazy. Lazy. I'm mad enough to share that with you. And when somebody refer to me as lazy, it triggers me, especially knowing the amount of things that I do, right, is especially knowing the work that I put in. No, I don't get everything maybe done in at but I'm always working on something, doing like always something going. Even if I'm physically doing something, my mind is always hard at work, thinking about a chapter in a book that needs to be written, or thinking about sermons and messages, ways to improve this radio show, and sometimes all of that can be taxing. And then when someone uses that word "lazy," when I know it's a trigger for me, that's the best way I know to tell it to you, is that that's one of my triggers, right? I know this, and every man has his trigger. Every man has his issue, his thing, his thing up, if you will, that when this happens or when this is said, it just sets him off. I remember. There wasn't a whole lot about James L. Chavis that set him off, right? But there were certain triggers. There were certain things that when you did them, they just disrupted him. They messed with him. And Lonzo was one of those things. I remember he could handle almost anything else that I did, but I remember lying to him about something. Right? I, I broke all kinds of stuff at his house at different points in time. But then and he was okay with that. He could handle that. But I remember I lied about it one time, and he knew, right? He knew that the chair wasn't broke before I got to it. He knew that because that was his chair. He sat in that chair all the time. He knew the chair wasn't broke, and he knew wasn't nobody at the house but me and my sister. Leslie, and she hadn't said it, which is true, but I had sat in it. I was playing in it, and I broke it. And I had broke other stuff at his house. He was fine with it. But this day I chose to lie, to stick with my lie. And it disrupted him so bad. It upset him so much. Every man has his triggers. Even Superman has that thing that sets him off. Right? That thing, you said, what? Superman? Yeah, yeah. Listen, that's why I like to watch these new age superhero cartoons. You see, they didn't always explore these things in some of the older Superman movies and all the comic books. When you go through this, you get to a better understanding. One of the things that always is a trigger for Superman is red kryptonite. You say, well, what is red kryptonite? Red kryptonite causes Superman to switch from his good guy routine to just doing whatever he want to do slash bad guy routine. And that's the things that trigger Superman, and he always has to be on watch about that. The other thing that triggers Superman, you can blow up all of Metropolis as long as you don't touch Lois Lane. The moment you touch Lois Lane, then it's over for him. That's it. He snaps, right? And then the more recent cartoons, that's one of the things they did. They destroyed almost all of them, and he was able to have most of them. When they killed Lois Lane, right? And I think he may have had his child, was pregnant with his child or something. They did that. Oh, that was it. He lost it. He snapped. You know, every man, no matter how strong. And I'm going to take the next, and then I'm about out of time, so that's why I'm trying to wrap this up. Every man has his. For the next few weeks, we're going to be dealing with different aspects of this. Light as a feather, heavy as a boulder, fragile as glass. Every man has that one part of his ego, if you will, or that one thing that is as fragile as glass. You tap on that, that's it. That's it. It just breaks. For some, it turns them toward anger. For some, it turns them towards depression and crying and anger and jealousy. It's just that one thing because it's a treat for them. Men, I want to encourage you to know your triggers. I have discovered. I don't know. I'm not sure if I know all of them because not all of them I don't know if have been touched or pressed or pushed or whatever. But I know of most of them. I know them when they happen. Oh, okay. And I know how to because I've taken time to talk with somebody. This is why it's good to have this after mental health month, men's mental health that we had last week, or last month. It's good to when you talk to somebody to be able to recognize those triggers and then build up healthy behaviors to redirect those triggers. I've gotten better, but I'm not fully healed yet from lazy. Somebody was in a conversation with my wife the other day and said something about me being lazy, and I'm still trying to get past it. I'm mostly past it, but when I think about it, it just bothers me a little bit, you know. So, uh, what? Think about that, man. Think about that. And ladies who are listening, who have a man in your life that you love and you care about, start to talk with him about his triggers. Start to talk about him with about that one thing, that thing that when it happens, it just sets him off in one direction, in one way, off his normal path, off his normal trajectory. All right. I'm well over my time, and I've got to make way for the Reverend Al Charleston. I don't really have time to prevent weather, but I will read Hurricane Earl. That is headed northeast and Bermuda and all of that headed toward Bermuda. So we don't have anything to worry about here. It's not going to make landfall anywhere near here. They still that disturbance one that's now um, still still good ways out into the Atlantic, and then disturbance two, which is way over there off of the still actually on the western coast of Africa, so it's still on land, making its way onto water. So just wanted to share that bit with you. All right. All right, friends. Well, I've got to get out of here. I've got to make way for the Reverend Al Sharpton. Know that I love you. I thank God for you. We're going to pick up this week. I'm sorry, with this month, all this month, we'll be dealing with feather, boulder, glass. Out right here on Man to Man on 93.5 KPPM, King Power Prayer Music, and ShabbatRadio.com. Friends, I love